Oh my gosh, such a pleasure to be here. Where's cohort 7? Woo! It's my people. They've adopted me at lunch. I am now part of cohort 7. It's very exciting. Love you guys so much. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here today. This is so exciting. This is a bit of a different talk for me. So I'm really going to try to give you a brief background on how I got to where I am today, because I want to provide the most value possible to all of you, right? So hopefully you'll be able to get some good nuggets and good takeaways from this talk today. And also, feel free to ask questions throughout. Like, I'm a very conversational speaker. Like, we're just going to have fun here. So let's get started. So how the heck did I become the senior SEO scientist at Moz? So this story is quite odd. I graduated from the University of Minnesota with a degree in public relations and could not find a job after college. Like, it was bleak, you guys, it was bad. And after searching and searching and searching, I decided just to pack up my car and to drive out to Colorado and fulfill my lifelong dream of being a snowboard mom. Right, so I do this, and it's awesome. I landed in Breckenridge and found a place and had an awesome season. But after a season, I was kind of like, man, I went to college. I should be doing something more than this. So I connected with a local realtor on Twitter, and he wanted me to start writing listings for him. And through this process, he actually introduced me to HTML, CSS, and your basic SEO. And the second that I learned that we can find out how many times a month people are searching for a particular thing, my life was forever changed. I'm not even joking. I would be out snowboarding with my friends, and I would be on the slopes thinking, how many people a month search for Britney Spears? Like, I just need to know this number, and I would want to go home. Like, I would want to go home and look this stuff up. It became this obsession of mine, and I got in it really, really thick. I thought it was so much fun to make up words on these sort of silly side websites that I would create and rank for them and see how quickly I could get them to index and rank in Google. It was just hilarious to me. And as this became a big game, I sort of continued to up the ante, which I don't suggest anyone get into hacking, right? But it's very accessible. Like, you can find, you can literally, let me flip to this second slide here, if it's working. It's very accessible. You can literally know hardly anything about code and become what's termed a script kiddie hacker. So I would find these programs on Tor, and I would bust into people's websites. I would leave messages in their Google Analytics profiles. I even got onto my neighbor's Wi-Fi and would print funny things when me and my friends were drinking, which is completely inappropriate and totally terrifying. So don't suggest you do those things at all. But what I learned from that was quite a bit, to be honest. So as this became this continued game of, what can I do? How can I get into this stuff? Neither of these are working, guys. We're good, though. We're just gonna. They told me, they go, if your slides don't work, they go, just give us a caw. I'm gonna be doing that a lot. Here you go. Yeah, and to the next one, caw. Woo! Yeah, perfect. So true developers, kind of, crap on script kiddie hackers, because they're like, you just copy and paste. And yes, I do, or I did, but it's fascinating the things that you can get into, and it teaches you about tech and about how websites work, really. But I planned 6 months in advance to rank #1 for Burton US Open, day of the snowboarding event in Vail. And I knew that in order to rank in Google, you had to do 2 things. You had to have really good, unique content, and you also had to have backlinks. And backlinks just basically work as this third-party credibility signal, right? It's a lot like real life. If 3 people completely unrelated to one another told you something, you would probably believe it to be true. It's the same thing for online. And so I worked really hard building all these links and creating unique content day of the event rolls around, and my crappy little website ranked #1 above Burton.com for Burton US Open, which is unheard of. I thought it was kind of cool. I was like, I'm going to get a job with Burton. This is my dream. And they actually did contact me. And they asked me to take the site down. And then they said, we would love to have you out for dinner. Like, we hear you're local to the area. Like, would you please come join us? I thought I was in. I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm going to get a job at Burton. I can tell them all about their security flaws and what we can do. And they asked me all of the questions at this dinner, and I answered everything. And you guys, I'm just like the worst hacker of all time. But I basically gave them all the information, how I did everything. And then they go, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Like, it was really nice meeting you. And they all left. I was like, all right, okay. Not exactly what I thought was going to happen, but it's okay. But what was funny is I was sharing some of these stories on Twitter, and other people saw it, and they thought, you can do this and get paid. Like, why don't you join this agency over in Vail and learn a little bit and get more comfortable in this space and do it for business? And so I partnered up with someone over there, and we had a blast for a year. And then after that, I created my own agency called Pride Marketing, and we focused on boutique medical marketing, and it was so much fun. And then after about 5 years, I was contacted by Moz, and here we are. So that's kind of that in a nutshell, but really bizarre kind of around the world journey. So there's a couple elements, I think, that led to my success. One of them was this wasn't work for me. I genuinely love this space, and I have so much fun. It's a game, like I said, it's just such a blast. Secondly, if you're having fun in the space and you're competitive, right? If you can have fun playing with this stuff, you're automatically going to be curious. That's just how it works. And so I think a big part of this as well was staying informed on Twitter. I followed SEO influencers religiously to the point of I would meet them in real life, and they assumed we had met before because I had just literally been pinging them all the time on Twitter about stuff. So highly suggest, taking some of this stuff into consideration because it really does pay off. Let's see, what do we got next? Oh, this is my unpopular opinion on mentors. So some of these people I never thought in my wildest dreams would even give me the time of day, I now consider friends. And the reason why I think this happened was, one, I would put myself out there, right? I hustled to get into these conferences that I couldn't even afford to attend. I made videos, super pathetic. I would literally make these whiteboard videos of things I could do to help them out at the conference for a discounted ticket. And I think they felt so sorry for me. They were like, okay, she can go. And I would show up, and I was just obsessed. I knew, this person loved cupcakes, and this person's dog was named this, and I was just obsessed. And something I never did was ask someone to be a mentor. I never walked up to someone and said, hey, will you mentor me? I never walked up to someone and said, hey, will you give me this? I want this, I need this. It was always, I would flip it, what can I do for you? What are the things that I know I'm good at or that I can provide value to you? And that completely changes the game. Now you have a true relationship and friendships that are bonded because of that. And I think that's so much stronger than finding a mentor. I really do. It's a two-way street, right? So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because I think that's really, really important. Who here is aware of imposter syndrome or struggles with it? Yeah, this is a huge, huge thing. It's crazy. That voice inside your head can just go fuck off, right? This is nuts. Yeah. Thank you. We are so mean to ourselves. Seriously, every single day, we are so mean. And we have created these short wires in our brain that repeatedly drill home things that you don't like about yourself. And I like to put it in this perspective of, if you run into a conflict with someone professionally, you might address it once, maybe twice. But when you do something that you don't like, you beat yourself up for it day and day and day and day, right? It's nuts. We have to be kinder to ourselves. And there's a lot of work that we can do even just being aware of it in the first place is so important. Like, that's step one. And I wish this app was still available, but there was this app a couple years ago where you could put in your negative thoughts, and randomly throughout the day, they would text them to you. And I remember sitting in a meeting, because it takes you out of it, and it makes you realize how crazy, your thoughts are not true. They're not true, valid things. They're just thoughts. And so this app removes that element. And I will never forget sitting in this meeting, and I got a ping, and I looked at my phone, and it said, "Your plants are dying because they hate you." I was sitting there like, this is so stupid. Like, this is the craziest thing ever, right? But it's so important that you take some of those thoughts that you have and separate yourself from it. Big believer in that. So I've been thinking a lot about this talk, and I thought, well, what are the ways we can start to mitigate that? Because quite frankly, you have to, right? In order to excel and to just be efficient at your job, you have to sit with imposter syndrome. You don't get rid of it completely. No, I don't think anyone does. But to acknowledge it and to just kind of let it go, right? So first up, just becoming aware of your negative self-talk. So how you speak to yourself matters dramatically. This was a podcast that someone suggested to me on Twitter, and I've listened to it several times. So it's the podcast, The School of Greatness, and it's episode 695 with Marissa Peer. Unbelievable what your thoughts do to you. Like, really quite terrifying. But she puts all of this in perspective so beautifully that I highly suggest anyone in this room that struggles with that, please give this a listen. It's really, really important stuff that affects your everyday life. Practicing good posture. So this might seem like, whatever, like, oh yeah, I should be doing that. No, it actually affects your self-esteem, and it actually affects how others perceive you. There's this book out right now, The 12 Rules for Life, and this is the first rule, is good posture, is sitting up straight, shoulders back, and he tells this story about lobsters that's really cool, and how lobsters posture for one another. And if you don't have good posture, you're signaling to other people like what you deem your self-worth. And you can actually, create different opportunities very subconsciously if you have good posture. I know it seems super silly, but I think these are important things that you guys can do, right now. Like, it's the most simple of things. And then if anyone who's seen the TED Talk on your body language may shape who you are. So I power pose before every talk. It's super embarrassing. It's so funny. I'm usually in the bathroom, and I'm like standing with my hands up, and I'm worried that people see, but yeah. It makes you feel better. It's crazy. There's a reason why athletes do, they make themselves big. So if you're in a meeting and you're feeling, a little nervous or insecure, make yourself big. I swear it works. It's so funny. Meditate or do something you love for just 5 minutes each day. And I know people are like, oh, I can't meditate. I've tried it. That's fine. But just even just recognizing how you're breathing, or so another trick I like to do before going on stage, because I get nervous every time I speak, is I wiggle my toes. It's like it helps me get out of my head, where you start to get so panicked. I'm like, pull a fire alarm, pull it. Like, wiggling my toes is like, oh, okay, I'm here, I'm okay, it's fine. I'm gonna stay alive, it's good. All right, and also, this might be the most important slide of this whole talk, is literally everyone that you're learning from and paying attention to, none of us know what the hell we're doing. Literally, no one knows what they're doing. We are all trying our best and doing different things, but it's so hilarious. There's no blueprint for this stuff, especially in marketing. There's no blueprint, right? So feel comfort in the fact that no one knows what they're doing, so just doing your best is incredible. I love that. We're going to dive into top SEO tips. So I'm really excited about this because I have heard through the grapevine that you don't get a ton of SEO background in marketing, and that's so common, right? This happens all the time. And when you go into the workforce, they almost expect you to have some level, which is a little bizarre. So hopefully I can give you some of that today. The worksheet that was printed out was something I actually created for internal employees at Moz, because my biggest pet peeve is that, this is our secret, okay, because we're friends now, there's all these people that work at Moz. Not everyone knows what SEO really is. How crazy is that, right? And in order to create optimal products and optimal messaging, I have driven it home that we all need to know what fundamental SEO is and what it does. So I've created this internal SEO course for employees that I'm super passionate about, and every time I've done it, the homework assignment has been to read the beginner's guide, which is something I recently rewrote. Talk about imposter syndrome. I thought it was sick every day about it. I rewrote it, and no one has yet to read it for this class, because I realize it's somewhat of a big ask, right? It's a little bit bigger, it's a PDF, but for whatever reason, people don't read things. So I thought, okay, at the bare minimum, how do I boil it down? And this is the sheet of paper I came up with. And now I make the entire class read it before we get started, because these are the bare minimum things you have to understand about SEO. So I hope that gives you sort of a foundation, right? And then we can build upon it here a little bit. So a real brief understanding of what's going on in search, right? Google's always changing, SEO has been changing quite a bit, and you see results like this, right? This is very common, where you see a featured snippet at the top, or a knowledge card, where it sort of answers your request, and then you have these people also ask boxes down below. Now, why are these important to be aware of? A, this answers people's questions. So we're actually seeing a rise in no-click searches, which is mind-blowing for marketers, right? People are searching and they don't even have to click on a website. Google just feeds it to them. And if the person isn't satisfied with that first featured snippet and they go to people also ask, this is providing dynamic questions. So here it was just the first, I think, 3 or 4 questions you see there, not the red box. And when I expanded, where did the name Miami come from? Those second 2 in the red box populated. Now if I go back and I expand this other one, it changes. So if I expand this, how do I say that? Tamia? Tamiami? Yes. Was not expecting that. Cool. If I expand Tamiami, look what shows up, right? This is Google dynamically populating information it thinks you're looking for in real time. It's mind-blowing, right? They are trying to satisfy the searcher's query without ever having to go to a website. Why? Because they make all their money off of ads, right? They want to be the best search engine in the entire world, and they want to be able to keep you on Google. It's crazy. So us as marketers, we have to think about all this stuff and shape how our strategy comes into play so that we can be competitive in this space. And there's lots of tools that show you what keywords show featured snippets, and people also ask boxes. So this is data that I pulled from Moz. So here you can see that the people also ask boxes in that featured snippet, they were neck and neck for years, kinda, right? They were both elevating at the same rate. But that dynamic element has just exploded. And we see it in around 80% of search results, that those people also ask boxes. Fascinating stuff just to be aware of. So my first tip, when you're thinking about content for a particular product or service or business, one of the first things you should be doing is going to Google, typing in the query, and don't hit enter. See what Google is suggesting. Take note of it. Is there anything interesting? Are you answering these types of queries on your site, right? Where can you sort of capture this audience? And then I used to make my employees type in the alphabet. They would type in Florida International University A, and they'd make notes of anything interesting. Then they'd type in B, make notes of it, all the way to Z. Because this is Google showing what is trending in your area and what is relevant to that keyword. And so you should absolutely be aware of what these things are. Google Trends is another thing that's so good to be aware of. So Miami Dolphins is getting more and more popular over time. How cool is that? You can see that in Google Trends. And then you can also put in, a competing football team, and you can see the comparison of searches for each of these teams. Buffalo Bills is a competitor, right? I looked this up last night. Is it not? Are they not? I am not great at football. Okay, thank you. But I thought this was kind of cool. Miami Dolphins doing better. It's also really funny to put in different things like Pokemon Go, that just shoot up and go down. But it's good to be aware of what's trending and why. You can scroll down and see all sorts of stuff. My third one is to create content with link intent. So I told you content and links are really what makes SEO powerful. And there is this whole theory that you can target keywords facts, right? You can do your keyword plus facts or statistics, and naturally people will rank or link to you because they want to link to statistic pages. They want to link to facts. And so that in and of itself helps set you up for success because you're already starting to have link intent behind those queries. So that's like kind of a weird thing to think about, but I think it's really important. And fourth, FAQ pages are SEO gold mines. Oh my gosh, these are incredible. So if you can continue to answer in very concise, easy to consume ways the most common questions that people are asking, you're going to continue to get qualified traffic from that. It's a really, really powerful thing to be aware of. And it was funny, over lunch we were talking about, something has to be over 2,000 words. Right? But now, because we see Google answering things in these very short sentences, it's almost like they want concise, they want compact, they want fast. And so serve it to them in pages like this, and you'll do very, very well. This is one of my favorites. So when working on anything in SEO, and you're working with a writer or content marketer, and you want to rank for a particular keyword, it drives me crazy when people just don't look at search, they just go to their computer and they start to piece something together. Don't even touch the page or a document until you have read every single one of that first page's results. Why? Because you have to create something that's nearly 10 times better to be competitive. And so you have to know what's good on each of these results. Why is Google showing this? Right? What's valuable? Take the most valuable bits and pieces from each. Obviously, like not copying, but taking those elements or that information and make it your own. You absolutely have to do this to be successful in search. And then number 6, this is my own personal theory. If you aren't breaking stuff, you aren't trying hard enough. And I think so many people are afraid to break stuff. And quite frankly, it's one of the best ways to learn. And I highly, highly suggest that you learn how to set up just a basic WordPress site on a server. And we're talking about this a little bit at lunch because they're like, well, how do you figure all this stuff out? I sure as heck wasn't going to do some of these things on a client or on a business I was working with site. I wanted to gain the confidence and the knowledge about it on my own just weird domains. And so if you're able to set something like that up, which quite frankly everyone in this room could easily do, there's lots of server space that's really, really cheap. And just even figuring out how purchasing a domain and how it has to point to your server files that are then pulled out into a browser teaches you the technical fundamentals of how some of this stuff works. And it really lets you level up. And something we were talking about at the interview was there's also this element as marketers and as SEOs, you have to communicate effectively with developers to get some of this stuff done. Like, you just have to. So knowing some of these technical things opens up this window to facilitate that connection. And they're going to have more respect for you. And also, we have so much to learn from developers. I know they get a really bad rap, and it's sort of like marketers, SEOs versus developers. We have so much to learn from them. And they can learn from us as to why we want things a particular way in order to rank. So there's a really beautiful relationship that can be formed if you're willing to put in a couple hours and get your hands dirty and break this stuff. I've broke countless websites I just had to trash because I didn't know what I even did. But it taught me a lot of the things that I know today and that I can now speak quite confidently about. So that's just my personal thoughts on that. I highly suggest you do that to get comfortable and get confident in that space. And then do I have anything else? Was this 6 or 7? I think this might have been it. That's me. Oh, yeah. Really cool. I'm so excited for questions. Also, I have to say, you guys are the coolest audience ever. I usually come in to observe speakers before I talk, and you guys are so engaged and awesome and smart, so I appreciate you.
Hi again,
Hey.
from cohort 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for having lunch with us. It was really nice. My question is for someone who is a digital marketer and is wearing so many hats, SEO being one of them. For example, when it comes to SEO audits in our website, what kind of tools do you recommend, especially the ones that are for free or for limited budgets that we can start doing on our own?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So over the last even year, I've had new theories about these audits because I've seen so many people invest so much time and so much effort and money into these tools that provide really great information. It's just so much. And I have yet to talk to an SEO who's been able to successfully get all that stuff done. Like I said, and like this one sheet that I provided tries to represent, you have to boil the information down. You have to make it meaningful for the client. So I think the first step is understanding what their business goals are and putting in the work to get to know them and to get to know what they want. One, it creates that trust and credibility, but two, it allows you to really pivot your strategy and your online work to meet that goal. And from there, I mean, there's tons of tools, right? Moz has a really great free trial that I would highly suggest because we've got capabilities that others don't. But one of my other favorite tools is Screaming Frog, but you have to know what to do with that information. It basically crawls your site and provides feedback, similar to its competitor Deep Crawl. They're both super powerful and robust. I'm a big fan of both, to be honest. But from there, it's knowing what to do with that information and really trying to boil it down. You can have all of it in one spreadsheet, but when you're presenting something to the client, I think it's important to try to condense that and to make realistic goals and timelines. Yep.
Hi, me again, guys. Best cohort. My first question. No. Hey, if it wasn't for me, your course wouldn't be as hard. I'm just saying. So the first one's kind of like a joke question. It says you said that you would kind of like do these little whiteboard things. Did you kind of kick off the trend for Whiteboard Fridays for Moz?
Yeah, totally.
You did? Oh,
it
perfect.
It was so embarrassing though. It was me in a basement, with it was like this big of a whiteboard. But yeah, I thought it was a funny play off of Whiteboard Friday.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then my serious question is, so for the 5th point, when you have your class kind of like go through like the homepage on, like the first search engine result page, when they're looking up a topic.
Yep.
Typically, like that's like Google serves that to you at a geo like related level. Like if you're searching here in Miami, yours also not going to be the same.
Yes.
If you were searching in Michigan. So like, what if you have a topic that is like something that's more nationally not necessarily ubiquitous to one location, how do you tell them, hey, pull up first page results for something that ranks for something that's national?
That's a really, really good question. I love that you asked that. So for national stuff, I always do incognito, right? It gets you part of the way beyond your personalized local results. And then to also remove that location element. So if you're using Chrome, you can add a profile that doesn't have a location. And sometimes I'll toggle between that to get some of the more national results. But what I think is most interesting about doing that process is we have to remember, Google has all of the world's information, right? Looking at a search result is like peeking through the portal and seeing what people actually want and are clicking on. We know for a fact that Google bumps things up that they're interested in, right? That people are actively clicking on and getting value from. And so if you do a search, you literally get to see the intent behind majority searchers in what they're looking for. An example is like you could create the best article in DIY Halloween costumes, but if you didn't have an image or a video, no way you would show up on #1, because that's all Google provides for that search. So you have to understand the way in which people want to consume that content, and that's why that practice is so important in just wrapping your head around the type of content and what information is baked in there that you can incorporate and do better. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yep.
Hi. You were mentioning in your presentation that 2 important elements is content and having links, linking back to your website.
Yep.
Based on your experience, what are key elements in this process of identifying those websites that could link back to your content, and how to make it happen, because it's hard to achieve that.
It's so hard. The conversion rate on links is depressingly low, right? So there are ways to be a bit more strategic. One of my favorite things to do for link prospecting is to put in competitor websites and then put in my website. So you can do this in Moz, you can do it in SEMrush or Ahrefs, but it's a comparative link profile. So for example, if let's say like Moz's website's here, Moz has a unique link profile, and so do our competitors. So if I put in Moz and these other competitors and I ask these tools, what commonality links do these competitors have that we don't have? Because if they're in the same space as us and they have a link from this domain, why wouldn't we have the chance to potentially get a link from them as well? So that's usually like step one. But there's also even easier ways of doing it. One is a lot of websites don't know what page is 404 on their site, meaning not found. Oftentimes, there are links pointing to 404s, meaning that this website thought this was a really great thing to link to at the time, linked to it, and now the page is no longer there. What happens to that authority? It just dropped. So if you're able to recognize what those 404, those broken pages are that have links, and 301 redirect them, instant gratification, basically. It's awesome. It's the easiest way to do link building. It's just reclaiming those lost links. So that's one of my favorite things. And then the other is, it's kind of chicken or the egg. If you create a really great piece of content, people will naturally link to it. And people love themselves, and they love where they're from and their names. And it's so funny how if you start to look at content where you can pull at those emotions. For example, there was a site recently that launched, enter your name in this search and see how violent you are in arrests, how violent your name is in arrest history. And going, that's crazy and fascinating and interesting. So it's directly relevant to different individuals with the same name, but you can do this on so many levels, right? You can look at geolocation information and tie that back to an audience and say, these states had a higher search in Fox News than they did CNN, and they voted Republican. And that's something I did recently on Moz. It's wild what you can find. and powerful stuff. Again, this stuff is just kind of digital psychology. So I think if you use the data and you use different research elements that are personalized to people or regions, you automatically will get links as well. Yeah. Yep. Hi.
Oh, okay. All right. So as of recently, I found myself doing more content writing, and SEO is definitely not my strongest suit by far. And I developed the company I worked for a website on WordPress. So I've been using Yoast recently. How powerful do you think that tool is? Do you think there's anything better in terms of really kind of making sure that your content ranks?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I really do love Yoast. I think it's great to evaluate all the other ones. They've come so far, and I know that they also have really great relationships with people in the industry and with representatives at Google. Like, they know what's happening. They are fully aware, and they're preparing for that. So I would, like, if it was me, I would definitely rely on Yoast. But I would also rely on just setting the technical elements up correctly that Yoast can't tap into. Like, Yoast gets you so far. But if you want to do additional things, you have to know how to do them yourself. But yeah, that's a really good question. I would say go with Yoast. Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Hi, Kirsten from Cohort 5.
I love that there's these cohort groups.
I wanted to ask, you had mentioned some coding at the beginning. If you felt like there's some fundamental languages that basically we should know or get familiar with?
Yeah, good question. And I think it's way too easy to stand up here and be like, Python's the best because everyone's using it, it's super cool and easy to understand. But quite frankly, so a lot of times, like, it doesn't matter as long as something's doing what you want it to do. So one of the ways that I've picked up bits and pieces of programming language is YouTube, believe it or not. So there are incredible YouTube videos on programming. It walks you through everything. I learned how to develop this script on my server 5 years ago when I was living in Vail, and there was a coffee shop across from my office that occasionally had this special for lunch that I obsessed over. And they would always have it on their website. But I was sick of looking at their website every day and being like, oh, it's not there, oh, it's not there. So I found a YouTube video that basically taught me how to write a script to crawl their site every morning. It was on a cron job, and to send me an email notification if my preference was the special of the day. Like, you can get programs to do incredible things for you. And it's getting more and more accessible. So this last year, and I mean the last 4 years, I've been really passionate about things like that and just getting your hands dirty in, you know, whether it be YouTube programs or whatnot, but also machine learning. I am insanely passionate about machine learning because I see that that's where everything's going. Things are going to be automated for us. I have already gotten meta descriptions to be completely automated. Granted, they're not always perfect, but they get you halfway there, right? There's really, really powerful things that can be done with these things, and big corporations like Google and, I mean, OpenAI a little bit, but they're trying so hard to make this stuff accessible. And so another thing I would highly suggest you look at is Google Code Labs. And they walk you through these processes step by step. And they tell you how long it's going to take you and what it is that you're going to accomplish. So within 15 minutes, I had my computer camera working to recognize whatever's in front of it and to say what it thinks it is. And I was giving a presentation a couple weeks ago, and I handed it to the audience because I was curious what it would think the audience was, and it thought that an audience similar to this was a restaurant, which I thought was really interesting. And then I handed it out, and people were using it, and the most fascinating, like, hilarious things came up. But my biggest thing, too, is if there's biased or racist data in these training models, that's going to come out that way. And it's so important to know that that is what's already happening and to integrate more diversity in these spaces. Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't have a diverse board on all of these companies that are making huge efforts to solve for this stuff. Kaggle is an open source data science competition platform, and you can see what companies are doing on there for machine learning. And one of the ones that has been blowing my mind is the TSA has put up $1.5 million to data scientists to predict potential threats, right? And this is real life. Like, this stuff is crazy. And the data that they've provided, in my opinion, is quite slanted. And that's not fair, right? So we have to have people sitting in on these conversations to accelerate them and make them fair. It's a huge, huge kind of blind spot, in my opinion. But as far as, sorry, I got off topic there, learning the code, here I am. Yeah, just trying stuff out. And like, everyone's afraid of the terminal on your computer. It's that little black icon where, you know, you think hackers live, and don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it at all. It's so, like, literally, if you have your computer right now, open it up and just all in one word, type in who is, and then type in your website, and it'll show you the domain registration information. There's all sorts of things like that that you as marketers should be able to just feel comfortable doing. And that's what's so exciting about that space too, is like, you can just keep learning about this stuff and make it easier. Yeah, good question. Cool, and I think we're out of time, right? I don't know who I'm looking at. You good? All right, thanks guys. Thanks guys. Woo.